Elton from Bass Magazine, talking to Marcus Miller, my main man, after a great performance at the Bass Magazine Awards 2026. Congratulations on getting the Lifetime Achievement.
Thank you, man.
My man.
Thank you very much.
When you look back on this crazy career that you've had, what do you think, man? How does it look from this vantage point?
I tell you, the weirdest thing is that when you're doing it, you don't have any historical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm playing on a record like Just the Two of Us, Grover Washington was like recorded like 1978, right? Mm-hmm. The last thing I expected was I'd be hearing that song for the rest of my life, you know? It was just, matter of fact, Just the Two of Us, which was a big hit for Grover Washington Jr. with Bill Withers singing, we cut it as an instrumental. So it was just, you know, another track, you know? And then Ralph McDonald, great producer, percussionist, he and Grover and whoever else decided to try to pull Bill Withers in. And next thing you know, so I'm walking down Broadway, because we were session musicians, we were just going up and down Broadway, just doing different record dates. And Ralph comes up and puts Walkman headphones on me. Listen to this. I go, "Ooh, that's nice, man. Is this us?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "We didn't play with Bill Withers." He said, "Yeah, we put him on later, man." And next thing I know, man, it's on the radio all day long. So you don't have any historical perspective. You don't know, you know, what's going to stick and what's going to not stick. You know, so the weirdest thing about being here is that there are a lot of things that I did that nobody knows, you know, but the things that kind of somehow became hits or became very popular, you get to be known for that. So it's weird. You know, they get the feeling, people get the feeling like all you did was just play on hits after hits after hits. Right. No, but it's beautiful, man, because it becomes a thing about your career and your effect on people is not due to one particular song. It's
Very
body
much.
of work. And that's the thing I'm most proud of, is that there's a nice body of work that I can refer to. You know, I can hear songs and go, "Am I on that? Yeah." You know, I play a little lick and say, "Oh yeah, that's one of my licks," you know, and go, "Okay, that's a really nice feeling."
You know, I consider you one of the originals. You know, you came up in an era where it was very important for everybody to have their own sound.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you sound nothing like Anthony Jackson. You sound nothing like any other bass player of that time.
Well, you know that, like I felt like I was just at the back end of the distinctive bass players. Right, caught the tail end of it.
I see.
Because I'm talking about Jameson, of course.
Yep.
And Alphonso Johnson, who was the bass player in Weather Report before Jocko, but who was equally distinctive and equally bad.
Absolutely.
And tremendously funky. And he sounded like Alphonso Johnson. And Larry Graham sounded like Larry Graham. Stanley Clarke sounded like Stanley Clarke. Jocko sounded like Jocko. Bootsy sounded like Bootsy. And that was all through the 70s, right? And I started getting on the scene around 78. I felt like if you didn't have your own sound, you were missing the mark. But I got in the studio work because I was in New York. I'm born and raised in New York. So when you do studio work, you can't impose your own sound on everything. So man, I was playing what was necessary for the record, you know. And sometimes this was necessary. Sometimes it was just whole notes. And that really rounded me out. You know what I mean? Because all of a sudden, I'm starting to get more and more dates where they say, "Hey man, we heard you play something very distinctive on another album, and that's what we want." And I said, okay. So I started getting called to be Marcus, you know. And Luther Vandross, we do a session like Never Too Much, and I'm playing this, and then I come to hear how he mixed it. I said, "Luther, you like the bass up that loud?" He said, "Oh yeah," you know. And so it started like building. And then after about 10 years, all the sessions I did, I was required to play in that style. And then I started making my own records. And although I had been playing jazz with McCoy Tyner and fusion with the Brecker Brothers, and when I made my own record, I said, well, you know what, I'm gonna take the path of least resistance. I'm gonna use this sound that people recognize, you know. I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to use this sound on melodies. I'm gonna figure out if I can use this sound on things that people hadn't been using, on jazz solos, you know, and it just built from there. So I went with a sound that I had come up with without really thinking about it, but realizing at a certain point, this is something. And I said, okay, let me that's an ember. Let me blow on it and see if I can turn it into something.
I mean, you know, every musician wants to have an individual identity, and you did it, and you did it very successfully.
I said to Lenny White's a great drummer, and he had played in one of the baddest fusion bands ever, Chick Corea and Return to Forever.
And on Bitches Brew.
And he played on Bitches Brew, exactly. And he had just left Return to Forever. And I'm in a club in my hometown, Jamaica, Queens, New York. I'm playing with Omar Hakim, incredible drummer, who we went to high school together. And I look in the door, here comes Lenny White. Turns out he's from Jamaica, Queens too. Never knew it. So I just attached myself to Lenny's side. Like when he went to do a gig, when he went to do a session, I was that dude. I'd go out and get food for Al Di Meola and Anthony Jackson and all those guys at 16 years old. Anyway, I said to Lenny, I really need to get my own sound, man. You know, if you drive up to the club, you know I'm in there before you walk in the door, just like all the rest of you guys, you know, Tom Brown.
So you were really thinking about that, the fact that you needed your own sound.
Because that was the only thing that was respected where I was coming up, Jamaica, Queens. Tom Brown, bad trumpet player. We knew it was Tom. Donald Blackman. Bernard Wright. Everybody had their thing already. So I really wanted one. And I asked Lenny, how do you get your own sound? He said, you don't work on it. You just play for the music. Use what you got to play for the music. And one day you're going to hear like a recording and go, oh, that ain't nobody but me, you know? And for me, I remember feeling that when I played on the first record with Miles Davis. It's called the first record that I played on with Miles. It was called The Man with the Horn.
Yes.
And I listened to it and I go, okay, I don't know if I like it, but I know it's me.
Right on.
You know?
I love it.
And I said, okay, let's stick with that. Let's develop that.
You saying the tail end, and as we look at stuff all these decades later, you know, what's on YouTube is what people do. You know, I talk to people who teach bass all over the world, and they're saying the people in Indonesia sound the same as the people in New York, sound the same as the people in Miami.
That's a blessing and a curse, you know, because part of your style used to be where you came up.
That's right.
There was a New Orleans sound.
A Minneapolis sound.
Of course, there was a Minneapolis
New York sound. A LA sound.
Philly, and I'm from New York, so my stuff was super aggressive, you know, and a little pushing forward, and the tone needed to be like really distinctive. We would play jazz in New York for audiences who weren't necessarily interested in jazz. Me and Bernard, Tom Brown. So we had to play aggressive because we were young kids, you know. Bernard was 13, 14, I was 17, 18. We would play like, y'all gonna like this, you know, at least y'all gonna respect us if you don't like it. So we've been playing aggressive, man. And that was just the environment in New York. But now, man, I see, you know, 9-year-olds in Indonesia playing with a face like, I like, isn't the sun always shining where you come from, you know? It's weird, you know, it's weird. It's like hearing people talking with accents from different places. But this is what it is. Everybody's exposed to everything now.
There's so many people who try to sound like you. How does that make you feel when you look out there and see like an ocean of people inspired by you?
It's funny, man. I'd be in the car with my wife and something would come on the radio. I go, oh man, me and that bass player must have had the same influences. And she goes, no, fool, he's playing like you. I was like, I don't know about that. But as time went on, people would come up to me and say, oh yeah, I was going for that, you know. So it's an honor, you know.
Yeah, I even have a friend of mine sold me a jazz bass years ago. It's a 78 jazz bass. It's a heavy, like 12, 13 pounds.
Yep, they were making them heavy back then.
Got them Bartolini TCT preamp with 9J, I think, pickups.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
okay,
he was like really trying to get that mark of sound.
Man, I got people in Italy handing me basses that this is an exact replica of your bass.
Oh!
Yeah, man, in Japan, you know, people are making them. And it's crazy. And, you know, I developed this relationship with Sire Basses about 10 years ago. And, you know, people were initially buying them. I just want that exact sound, you know? And I was telling people, look, if that's if you're a hobby bass player, you know, and you just want to like sound like you know whoever it is you're influenced by, that's cool. But if you're trying to like have a real career out of this, you're gonna have to find your own thing. And so with Sire, they make a jazz bass that gets close, a jazz style bass that gets close. But they make so many other things now, man, and you're starting to hear people taking advantage of that too.
I see.
So I think it's cool.
That's great, man. You know, I remember I saw you a long time ago playing, I think you had like a fretless F bass.
Yeah,
you got a whole bunch of things. You know, what else is in your closet?
Oh man, I got everything.
I figured.
I do move around with fretless basses. You know, I'm interested in the different tones I can get out of fretless bass. I played a Federa fretless, I think it's called a Monarch, I'm not sure the names, but it's just a 4-string, and I played that on a lot of records in the 80s. And then, you know, went to a 5-string Federa, but then I found a 66 Fender that sounded beautiful. I have a modulus graphite.
That's right.
From the early 90s.
That's right.
That sounded really different, you know.
I felt like you had a Music Man too, right?
Yeah, recent. That's more recent.
Okay.
A Music Man fretless. And they all have slightly different sounds. So I like to experiment because I'm curious, but I tried to keep my fretted sound consistent, you know. So if you buy my records, you'll hear that sound, but then you'll hear some other sounds.
Totally.
Especially from fretless.
You know, when people say the tone is in the hands, I'm like, yes, Marcus absolutely sounds like Marcus no matter what bass he plays. At the same time, it does make a difference. And just like you're saying, you're getting different tones out of different instruments.
Yeah, there's different, you know, a lot of people say, oh, I can change the tone with the EQ. And I say, who's your favorite singer? So for old school, it might be Chaka Khan, right? And you say, now, if I take Chaka Khan's vocal and I turn up 3K, 3,000 hertz, all the way up, what's it sound like? It sounds like Chaka Khan with 3,000 hertz turned up. EQ doesn't change the inherent, because inherent sound, personality sound, is much more intricate than just EQ. You know, it's the shape of your nasal cavity, your vocal apparatus. And I think it's the same with basses. You know, yeah, if you're playing a ballad behind some great power ballad singer, your tone probably doesn't matter because the engineer is just going to turn it up at 60 hertz and make sure that that bottom of that record is totally consistent. And your tone probably won't make it through, like the full tone of your bass. But if you're playing in a musical environment where you can hear the whole bass, then your tone's gonna make a difference, you know? So when you hear me, if I play a precision, you go, oh, that's Marcus playing a precision. But it's not like Marcus playing a precision, you know? So you gotta work. I played a jazz bass in 1977 for a long time. You know, it had great things about it. It had things that weren't so cool about it. I stayed away from the things that weren't so cool, and I emphasized the things that were cool about it. So my style evolved around what worked on the bass I had.
I see.
So, and it wasn't like I resented the bass for having a B, like the 4th fret on the G string. The B doesn't last at all on a regular jazz bass. I didn't resent it. I just played the B here, you know, on a different string. You just work with what you got. It's like your voice, you know. If you can't sing low, don't sing low, you know. Right?
Yeah, stay in your range, huh?
Yeah.
It's been great, like listening to you evolve over time, you know. And I think of, you know, how that was so important to Miles. You know what I mean? To keep growing, keep changing, and leaving whole generations of fans behind. Like, I got to go there. You know what I mean?
Well, Miles, his music was about revolution, meaning, you know, he'd have a band for 5 or 6 years, and then all of a sudden, he just completely changed the style and everything. Even if he played the same songs from the 50s to the 60s, they were playing in a completely different way.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, all of a sudden, people got comfortable with his 60s group. And next thing you know, he's playing electric music, playing the trumpet through a wah-wah pedal. That's revolutionary change.
Absolutely.
For me, especially with my bass playing, you might not notice it over the years. But then when you go back and listen to something I did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you go, oh, he's absolutely evolved. You know, and for me, it's more of an evolution. And I hear people playing the way I played 30 years ago.
Yes.
And playing those licks like dedicated to them. I go, wow. I go, oh, that lick was kind of cool. Let me bring that one
Oh,
back.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
It's
Wow.
a trip, man. It's a trip.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, because your career has had so many different eras at this point, there's people who just love you for a certain era and they're stuck in there, you know what I mean?
And then they say, I love you for blah, blah, blah record. And I even play on that, you know what I mean? Because history starts muddying up things.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, thank you.
Wow, I love it. You know, when I was listening to you at the observatory, I was really listening to your tone. Yes, with the Sire bass, but also with the Mark bass amp. That's like a completely, I think I first saw you might have been playing at SWR. You know what I'm saying? Remember back then?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely, yeah.
And that's a whole, talk about evolution. That's a very different tone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very different tone. And a lot of my sound is a direct sound. Because I was a studio musician in New York. And back then, you know, we were doing session after session after session. And they really didn't bother with getting a bass amp sound anymore. In the 60s, there was always an Ampeg B, what's it called? The
B15.
A B15 in the studio for the bass player. But when I came through, it was just a direct box. You know? So I had to really focus on my sound, you know. Roger Sadowski suggested putting a preamp in the bass so you have a little bit more control over the treble in the bass. And I did, and that really helped. So I just started getting into the amp sound like in the 90s, you know, because I plug it in the direct box, this is the way the bass sounds, you know. And it's really fascinating because now we use a blend, like live when I'm playing, it's direct, it's out of the back of the amp, and then mic in the speakers.
Got
so
it.
It's multiple, and the engineer can use the amp to put air around the sound, you know, or if he needs more detail, you know, clarity, he can use the direct sound. So I've been experimenting with that. But you know, I had a Mark bass amp speaker, the cabinet with 810s at the observatory.
That's right.
So I was kind of enjoying like
You loved it?
the wind against my back. You know
Because
what I mean?
back when you were coming up, everybody was using the SVTs or the
Yeah, so
acoustic
it was
360s.
it was like having an acoustic 360 or an SVT behind me.
Oh, I love it.
So I was getting a kick out of it. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
great.
Ooh, listen to this E.
Yes.
You know, man, me and my man Harold, who we analyze basses. I said, man, he said, I got a great bass. I said, if I hit that E, the sun don't come out. I can't use it, you know?
Yes.
And, you know, 5-string is cool, but an open B doesn't have the sun.
Yes.
Because the harmonic range is a little limited on open B because the bass isn't really long enough for a string to create a fundamental B with all of its harmonics. You know? So there's something special about that E, even when you have a 5-string. You know?
I absolutely agree. The first time I heard somebody playing a great jazz bass through a SVT, I was like, oh, it was really a revelation because I felt like the whole spectrum is covered. You don't even need that B, or if a 6-string is C, you don't need any of that.
Right,
a 4-string will get you all the way there.
Well, you know, electric guitars and electric basses, I don't think they were ever intended to be played without the accompanying amp. Like the amp for Leo Fender was like the bell of a trumpet or a saxophone. This was the speaker. This was the thing that created the sound. So, you know, when you used to buy a Fender bass, you bought it with an amp. You know, the amp was part of the sound. But then all of a sudden, of course, people don't care what the original intention of an instrument is. They're going to take it and use it however they want.
Absolutely.
And the direct sound became a really cool thing, too, for some people. So it's really interesting to see the different ways, you know, different paths an instrument can take.
I mean, the things that you were doing, I'm not sure Leo Fender intended that bass to do that.
I
you know
don't
what I'm
think
saying?
Leo, but you know, Anthony Jackson's like, you know, Leo Fender never intended to slap it like that. I said, you're doing stuff that Leo never intended either, brother. Anthony was my man, you know.
Yes, man.
And it was so funny, man. It's so beautiful because he's like, Marcus, slapping is an insult to your instrument.
He said that to you?
Well, no, he didn't say that to me. He said that to other people.
Yes.
To me, or about me, like he'd be on a session in the late 70s, early 80s, and slapping was a big thing, you know, playing with your thumb.
Of course.
And the producer would say, hey, Anthony, can we get some of that? He goes, I don't do that. You know, they go, what? He said, I don't do that. If you want that,
Call Marcus.
call this kid Marcus.
Yeah, I knew it.
And yo, I would walk in the door like this. What's up, y'all? What's going on? Hey man, nice to meet you. That's how life works, man. Nobody knows where people are going to take the instrument. You know, people are doing things with the guitar now that the original guitar makers would be like,
Absolutely.
oh,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got to go with what you feel and what you can discover.
You know, sometimes I talk to my friends and we have discussions about Marcus Slapp versus Larry Graham versus Louis Johnson. And I would love to hear how they inspired, influenced you, what impact that had, how you created your own lane in there.
Well, for me, it was all about Larry,
Yes.
right? What he did with Sly and the Family Stone, but then the Graham Central Station
Absolutely.
records, it was incredible. And at that point, I had a Fender Jazz bass with, might have even had nylon
Nylon,
strings.
the black tape wounds.
Because they look cool, because
Yeah.
they weren't silver, they were black, right? I didn't know about the sound. You just did things because they visually look cool back
Right.
then. So man, it was all about Graham, you know? And then I got into Stanley, right?
That's right, yes.
No, I got into Stanley first.
Okay.
So first I was playing, I don't know, probably the same time. But then Stanley, I needed more brightness
Yes.
on the bass.
Yes.
So I went to the music store and I said, hey, I want the strings that make me sound like Stanley Clark. The kind of stuff you say when you're like 14 years old.
Absolutely.
And the guy sold me these round wound strings. You know,
Yes.
And I started playing on those. And then I heard Jaco, so I used the round wound strings on fretless, right? And then the 80s came. And the 80s was about Lindrums, DX7s. The microphones were really harsh sounding microphones. The snare drum had a gated reverb. Everything was bright, bright, bright. And so in order for me to work in that environment, I said, you know what? The finger thing is not working, but this thumb sound with these round rounds works perfectly. I'm playing dum 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 dum. Dance music producers would call me and say, look, I use synth bass, which I'm going to use, but I want you to double the synth bass exactly. So I didn't have to worry about what to play. I just played with the synth.
Oh, I see. You would show up and they would actually already have the synth bass done, and then you would
Yeah,
double.
the track was done. Jelly Bean Benitez. Marcus, I'm going to eat. Just double the synth bass. I said, no problem, I got you. No loud soft. Everything was dum 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 dum.
Damn.
Same attack every time, like a synth.
That's
you know?
beautiful practice, though, man.
Yeah, it was a discipline.
Yes, it was.
And then I'm playing with this group on their records, Scritti Politti,
Of course.
and they were like the Steely Dan of the 80s, meaning really precise. You know, David Gamson was the musical guy. He put the music together, and sometimes he called me in and said, "Look, I got the synth bass; it's covered. I just need you to add something so it sounds like a human being's involved." So I would just go,
Yep. Add a little spice, huh?
Yeah, I just put a little bit of sauce in there, you know, and we had fun. But I developed a style that worked in that era. You know? Now it's getting into the 90s, and things are reverting, but I'm getting ready to make my own solo records now. I said, you know what? I'm going to use this sound in a different way. I'm going to play melodies. I'm going to find a way to include subtleties that people don't expect to hear from attacking the bass like this. Because I realized playing the bass rhythmically with your thumb, it's not new. You know, I went to Morocco. And played with some brothers who play Guembris.
Today, right when you started, I was like, oh, that sounds like a Guembri. My man is playing that vibe right there, that articulation.
Yeah, I'm hanging with those guys and realizing, man, this thing is so cyclical. Playing a stringed instrument that has a resonant box on it, acoustic bass, Guembri, all those instruments, rhythm guitarist, is part of the sound, right? It's rhythm. So I'm sorry if you got a problem with somebody playing a stringed instrument rhythmically, but it ain't going nowhere.
It ain't going nowhere.
So man, I just really enjoyed experimenting with that for my records. You know, playing. Matter of fact, on one album, I played the Guembri.
You did?
Yeah.
On Aphrodisia, did you play Guembri?
Yeah.
You did.
They gave it to me as a gift after the concert I did. And it's not quite as simple as just playing what you normally play on a guitar. On the Guembri, you strike it with that part with your nail, like this. So I had to kind of get it together. And I apologize to the real players, ahead of time. but it sounded beautiful. It's a beautiful sound.
Yeah, it did, man. You opened a lot of people's ears to that. That's cool, you know?
Yeah, it's important to just try to stay curious and keep growing.
Well, listen, man, I got to talk to you about rhythm sections because you have been part of some of the most amazing rhythm sections. So let's talk about drummers, man. When I think of Jamaica Boys, I think of Lenny White.
Yep.
When I think of, Gad, and when I think of Pooji,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? And what's the current drummer, Anwar, is that his name?
Anwar Marshall,
He's bad. Talk to me a little bit about your relationship with the drummer and how you do that.
I tell people, if you're gonna play as a studio musician, you're gonna play with about 12 drummers, like over the year, and you need to know how each of those drummers goes boom boom, right? So some drummers go da-dum, da-dum. Other drummers go da-dum, da-dum, and everywhere in between. Yogi Horton had his way, Buddy Williams had his way, Steve Gadd played with James Gadson on the West Coast. He had his own way.
Did you ever play with Yogi?
Oh yeah, we played on all the Luther records.
Yes.
Yeah, so Yogi had his own way of playing. Matter of fact, when we're playing the Luther Vandross records, I had to make sure I had a visual sight of his foot because Luther's music was very, very open. Like the hi-hat didn't go, it didn't go, it went,
quarter notes on the hi-hat.
Quarter notes on the hi-hat. Steve Ferroni had his own way of doing it. But anyway, man, my job, because they're managing at least 4 elements at the same time. So my job was to not ask them to change, figure out. Sticks Hooper,
yes,
from the
Crusaders, yeah.
I was sitting there as a kid listening to the Crusaders records and learning how Sticks approached the drums, just listening to the drummer and hearing how he plays his fills, how he comes out of his fills. So I finally got a call to play with the Crusaders, legendary, jazz funk group, jazz blues soul funk group.
Yes.
And I was locked into Sticks. I said, no, I did my homework. I didn't even realize I was doing homework. It was just fascinating for me when I was a kid. And Sticks said, man, we play good together. I said, man, you don't
Isn't
know.
that a great compliment when a drummer says that?
And that's my whole goal. If you go sit in with a band and the drummer starts smiling, that's my job.
So what would you tell someone who's just learning how to play bass about this connection with the drummer? What do they look for and what should they be paying attention to?
I'll tell you what Lenny White told me, because I got on a straight ahead gig with Lenny White. Trio, Weldon Irvine on the piano, who was a mentor of ours.
Yes.
Lenny White and myself, and we were playing straight ahead, we were swinging. And Lenny was playing all this like Tony Williams, crazy fills. I was 16. I ended up on the wrong side of the beat about 157 times in one set. So man, I was like mortified. I said to Lenny, what do I got to do, man? What do I have to do? He said, just put on any record by Tony, especially the Miles records. Put on anything by Elvin, especially the John Coltrane records, and just sit there and count. Just sit there and start to learn how a drummer thinks, right? And I realized that drummers stretch the time in different ways, right? And so I began to realize, okay, this drummer, it sounds busy, but he's actually laid back in a certain point. And this drummer plays on top. This drummer plays on top, but Ron Carter, the bass player, plays behind him. Okay, I'm listening, I'm analyzing on that level. Or Ron plays on top of the drummer sometimes when it's really up-tempo. And I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about that, but it gives the music a different feel. So I was a maniac about listening. Buddy Williams played a certain way. All the drummers I played with, Omar Hakim.
Omar, I was going to say.
Because we grew up together. He was like the first drummer that I learned to lock with. But it's really important, or at least when I was coming up, it's really important.
Well, that's why I was talking to you about it, because, a lot of times, I'll go see a band and it sounds like 4 soloists up there. And, I feel like that's an old school way of thinking about it, but the ensemble, like I was beating into me, and, seeing James Brown who'd go, and the whole band stop on a dime, you know what I mean?
I mean, and there's nothing like seeing, for an audience to see a band that's acting as one, And when I came up, Earth, Wind, and Fire, you knew that they practiced locking with each other. We had a music director, Omar and I. His name was Denzel Miller, and Denzel was our band leader. He was, maybe 5 or 6 years older than us. But when you're 17 and he's 22, 23, it's a big deal,
Yeah.
So anyway, he'd give us a bass line and a drum beat, and we get it locked. He said, "That's it. Keep playing that. I got to make some runs. Don't stop playing that till I get back." And he'd get in his car, and we'd be like, "Dum dum 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 boom 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 boom," and we had to get it locked. Now I gotta admit, Denzel might hear this interview. Denzel, we didn't play it for the whole time that you were away. We stopped for a while, watched some TV, went back at it, But we got the message.
Right on.
And when we heard his car pulling up, we was back on it, But the mentality is that you guys have to lock together. You guys have to go. Because when all the bands you heard, the Ohio players, Earth, Wind and Fire, Funkadelic, they all were locked, one and one. And that's coming back. That's not gone. You find some funk bands on the internet now where they're still there. It's not going anywhere.
When you were learning and paying attention to all those things, but now that you're in a position to hire a drummer, how do you impart that? Or how do you judge right off the bat, like, this dude, I'd like to play with this guy?
It's a little bit more difficult because the drummers now, the style is drum-centric.
Thank you for saying it.
Like if you go on YouTube or something, they got a drum cam.
Yes.
Like where the camera's on the drummer.
Yeah.
You can't even hear the choir, right? And I'm like, ooh, okay. And I've been on stage with some gospel bands where the vocals aren't in the monitors.
I know.
So when I get a drummer and we're playing like jazz-oriented music, I mean, it's, jazz funk, jazz hip hop, whatever, but there are soloists involved. When the drummer starts, I point to the soloist. That's it. It's about him right here. Anything you do needs to push the music forward. Anything you do needs to be saying amen for our preacher right here, Because in that kind of music, it's all about supporting the soloist. And if you're doing something that steps on him or doesn't help him or doesn't help the music in general, except for the drummers on the side of the stage, in my opinion, you're defeating the purpose of music.
Absolutely.
Now there's space for all of that.
Yeah.
And one drummer I had, man, I said, look, you lock with me for the show, and I guarantee you I will give you your space. And I gave him his space, man. And he did his thing, and it was so much more effective.
Yes.
Because if you're just doing stuff all the time, people just develop a resistance, That's why, if you go to YouTube, you think I'm doing this the whole show. That's just because people put the exciting part on YouTube. But man, if I did that the whole show, man, people's ears would be bleeding.
Yeah.
So I wait and I save it, and it's all about an arc and getting to it. Them talent show singers who have to turn it out in the first, 45 seconds because, the guy's getting ready to yank you off the stage if you don't turn it out right away. And they go for it. And that works in the talent show. But when you're doing a concert,
Yes.
Luther Vandross, man, there was an arc.
Yes.
There was an emotional arc.
Absolutely.
That went like this. And by the time he was singing, those songs that you've been waiting for, people would lose their minds. I've been in Luther shows where a woman literally started screaming and couldn't stop. And they had to escort her out. Luther waited. Because what made her scream was that he stopped singing. He stopped the band. He said, and she was waiting for him to go, pretty little. And he didn't sing it. And she just lost her mind. And Madison Square Garden, man. And they just took poor girl out, and she's screaming on the way out. Darling, and he finished the song, man. And it was, but that kind of emotion, man, that's like, there's a music for musicians, there's a music for young people, there's a music, like, look, there's athletic music. There's plenty of clubs where, you're just showing everybody chops. But you get to a point, maybe, in your life where you want to have chops, you want to do all of that, but you want it to be part of a bigger story. And that's what you want young people to realize. Do your thing. You know, have competition. I love, you know, when we were young, man, 17 years old, we'd have bass-offs, you know? And I still do it for fun, you know? Because we're too old to be doing bass-offs. But we still do it for fun.
I love it.
You know, but let's get back to it. Let's get back to making people feel something.
Right on. My man, they're telling us we got to go. We could be chatting for so long. There's so many things I want to talk about.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll have to do it again. You know?
It's a great honor to have you here. Thank you.
All right, man.
And I can't wait to hear what you got next, man. I heard a rumor about some singles.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly. Working on it now.
Okay. Great.
Stay tuned.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Right on.